All right, we are live. Welcome, folks. If you're tuning in, thanks for joining us live today for Remote Leadership Unleashed, presented by Quickly Hire. We're here with Shelly James, and I will get into her bio in just a moment. We're going to give folks a second to come in and join the live stream. We are streaming live on LinkedIn right now. We're live on the Quickly Hire YouTube channel and the Quickly Hire Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, do what you got to do, subscribe, follow, like. It's different on all the platforms, but I think if you're on that platform, you know the drill. But we have a lot of exciting content coming up. So we've got the interview with Shelly today. We've got more coming on the schedule, so you can check out what we've got scheduled in our upcoming live streams, and we can't wait to keep these going. So yeah, welcome everyone. I am Emily from Quickly Hire, and this is Remote Leadership Unleashed, where we explore expert perspectives on hiring, managing, and scaling distributed teams. I'm delighted to have you all join us for another episode filled with valuable insights and actionable strategies. But first, Quickly Hire is the fastest way to add vetted freelancers to your team. At Quickly Hire, we understand the importance of assembling top tier talent for your business. Whether you need a developer, content marketer, designer, virtual assistant, or any other technical or creative professional, we've got you covered. We've actually just launched a few new roles. You can go to quicklyhire.com and check them out. We've got SEO specialist, paid ad specialist, social media managers, we're adding project managers on there. So go check that out. And our platform connects you with highly vetted freelancers who match your budget and requirements. So we help ensure that you find the perfect fit for your team. So go check out Quickly Hire. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer them. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, and that is Shelly James. And
Good
she is
morning.
partner. Yeah, good morning. And she's partner at Porter Co. Agency with over 3 decades of experience in marketing strategy and public relations leadership. Shelly is renowned for her pragmatic problem-solving approach and collaborative leadership style. So right before we went live today, Shelly and I were talking about, she didn't prepare much for this, and I mean that in a good way, right? So she's going to be off the cuff. She's a practiced marketing and PR professional, so I can't wait to dig in to the questions. Welcome, Shelly. Anything you would add to that intro?
No, I have a law degree, and I had the opportunity when I was a vice president in a PR agency to either transition to law or stay in PR and then transition into marketing. And I chose marketing, and I can absolutely declare without reservation that I made the right choice. So it's a joy for me to do what I do, and that's why I've been doing it. And it is fun. My peers have the same kind of sentiment, and so I have found a lane that has worked for me for my whole life, and we've kind of I share that I am agency. That's kind of how I say it. I'm just agency. I have worked in house, and when you work agency, you've got to love it because you got to bring it every day. And the other thing about agency is everything changes every day. And so the ability to keep that freshness, both in perspective and with talent and ideas, is kind of the lifeblood of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of the folks, we have a lot of agency professionals in our audience, and I'm sure they're all, yep, yes, resonate. Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to love it, or it'll just fry your cylinders out.
Yes, and you can tell that you love it. So I love your energy that you're bringing today. All right, let's jump right into this. So we're here to talk about managing remote distributed teams. It can be synchronously, it can be asynchronously, right? If you have people all over the world, and it presents different types of benefits for both the company and the professionals working remotely, right? But it also presents a lot of challenges. So the first thing I want to ask about is motivation. So what's your go-to strategy for motivating your team, and how does that change if they're remote or in office?
I grew up agency, right? First it was in PR, and then I was actually transitioned to an agency that had 85 people. I'm in California, and the agency that I actually worked for was based out of Dallas. And we grew during my tenure there to a staff of over 300. And so I I know that there's this separation, particularly post-COVID, of there's the remote team and there's your internal team and then there's this team. And I just don't share that belief. They're my team. It really doesn't matter that they're located anywhere, whether it's down the hall. Even when we went to the open door, open environment where nobody had doors, I have a door because I copyright, so I need quiet time. And so when I close my door, my team is away from me, whether they're down the hall away from me in the next door, or they're across town, or in Dallas, or if now I have team members that are literally global. I just don't think of them as like remote. They just happen to be doing their work from a different location that is mine. And so when you have that premise, I think the expectation of your work product, of the people that are on your team, if you're going to have great members on your team, you're going to have great members on your team. You're not going to have an A team and a B team and a C team, right? You build a bench, and so everybody on the team really has to be an independent team player. They've got to bring it every day. And so when everybody has that mindset, keeping motivated is easier because the expectations are known, and we really subscribe to we are better together, because each one of you bring your excellence, whatever that is, or your experience or your knowledge or your perspective. And all of that needs to be infused to produce what we're doing, whether it's a video or it's social or it's an ad campaign or it's strategy or a new brand. And so we have always been the mindset of better together, and independent team players just kind of rise to the occasion.
I love that. And it made me wonder, a lot of times challenges and obstacles get attributed to remote team structure. Maybe, oh, this is too difficult because we're not all in one room working together. Do you think maybe that remote team can kind of be a scapegoat sometimes for problems when, you would never say, oh, we don't work well together because they're on the 7th floor and I'm on the 3rd floor, so we can't get the project done, right? I wonder if just putting the label to it is could be part of the problem or part of the obstacle.
Perhaps so part of that is defining their role. And so if they know what they're supposed to bring, and it's not bring it to Susie so Jack can present it, and my role is really as Susie is kind of removed from the final product, so my ownership is less. And that's not how we work here. I need everybody to be great the whole time. And so I don't, certainly there's days where you are better than you are because life happens. But I think it has to do with staying flexible and stepping in. I think that where I really see that fragmentation is because we aren't visually seeing each other struggle with deadlines or concepts or creative that we don't know, or it's easy to get T-Rex arms and say, I don't have to help, right? And so we really try to infuse staying flexible, being a good communicator, supporting the people by asking, it is, what are you working on? How can I help? And when everybody is remote, it's easier when I can go, particularly if you're home, I can get a little laundry done, or I can take on another project. Please take on another project because we got stuff to do. And so it really is, the other way that I have seen it is that people cherry pick the projects. There's the ones that everybody loves because they're high profile or they're something that they're interested in. And then they don't get as excited. And you've really got to lean into those situations because the work really has to be done. So it's less about location and really that constant fostering. This is important not only to me, but to all of us. because we need to bring it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. On that note of, sounds like you're saying get the right people on the bus, right? Build your bench with the players that you want on your team. What qualities do you look for when hiring contractors? Do you have contractors on your team? Are they mostly remote? What does that look for? What does that look like for you? And what are you looking for?
So you asked lots of questions
Yeah.
in that one question. And so what I will tell you is my team is smaller than it has ever been on a full-time basis. And but we do have creative director, I've got a media director, and so we have leadership. Where we have augmented our team is in support services, design services. Where we have found it exciting is particularly in the three places, and I'll go into one of those that we've used Quickly Hire for, is for web design and web support. We actually have 3 different web developers that we have long relationships with, and we have up to 7 foreseeable projects in a very short window. And while my team is amazing, they can't handle that sudden surge of a project. We just can't handle it internally. And so we actually reached out and were provided 3 options, which was nice because I didn't have to spend a lot of time vetting, right? And that was magical. And we asked the questions about, what for, and I'll stay just in this lane for this web developer piece, and then I've got 2 other examples. But for our web developer person, I was interviewed about what qualities I was seeking, soft skills, hard skills, and I'm pretty finicky. I prefer to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then the other times that I choose to work are my time to choose to work. And I have worked with remote teams in different time zones that shift that workday and by requirement. And there's a magic about having an East Coast team because I can go to them for the things that I know that I'm going to need for morning deliveries, and so there are things that I purposely infused knowing my client base. So there's a magic that can happen. But when I go, some of the European time zones are troublesome. So that was one of the questions, right? I've worked with folks out of London, and it's just, we're a little out of phase time-wise. And so we make it work, but it's not as easy as finding someone. Deliberately, the designer that I chose is actually in the central time zone. So we have 2, so I've got a little bit of flexibility, but not all the way flexible, right? So that was, so time zone is important. Language is important to me. I'm not concerned that English is their only language. I love it when I've got a depth of influences of cultures and things. I just need them to be able to speak in English for me, because unfortunately I'm single lingual. And then there's the soft and the hard skills. And I think the interview process when I'm onboarding remote or additional members to my team for projects or for month to month work, it's that they're members of my team. I kind of go back to where I started. They're members of my team. This isn't just a relief pitcher. I'm coming up for one hit wonder. And so they need to have the soft skills, and they kind of have to almost match my energy. So that's hard because I communicate fast and you've got to understand quickly. And there are people that I kind of overload. And so that person either has to have someone else that is their point person because their skills are amazing. I talk too fast. And so the other part is they often need to be complementary to my existing team. The web designer that we're using right now has a very different skill set than my ongoing relationships with my other designers. So she's actually problem solved some pieces on some other websites for me because she comes at it with a different point of view. That is incredibly valuable. And then cost, we service a variety from enterprise to startups. And so the costs of what the client can afford vary, and hiring candidly outside of California offers amazing benefits, and to keep costs contained. And again, as I mentioned before, the work ebbs and flows, and so I don't have that problem to solve 12 months out of the year, but I can tell you in the spring and the fall, I do. And it's just because it's the cycle of the business. People go on holiday in the summer, and so it's less busy. And I can normally handle the flow. People go on holiday during the holidays, and so I have less of a crazy time. And I don't need a full-time person for those times, because truly I have to kind of foster and imagine work sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. So being able to be flexible and having the right people and treating it like a team. And I love that you've said it in the bio that you submitted. We're all on the same team. We're in this together. And I think that's so important. What are some, excuse me, what are your tips for executing effective communication? How do you have processes in place? Do you have kind of a structure that people need to check in every day so that you have the information you need? Do you have best practices for communicating with the remote team?
So we're a Google shop, so we use Google Drive, Google, so that information is shared there. We also use Monday, and so for project management, the beautiful thing about that is you can email those partners who are Monday averse. And so we can get them on our train, whether they believe that they're on our train or not, because it just funnels in there. And so process is an interesting piece, very similar to how people process information, right? Some people I need one step, I need two step, I need three step. And some people need, just give me what you need at 30,000 feet, I got this. And it really has to depend on what kind of project it is. And so the process piece, we try and democratize and make it the same within the organization. And then there are some partners that need the information just a different way. And you kind of, just like to the human, you need to praise them more or give them really clear feedback. Nothing can be ambiguous. And so that's important too, because it makes them not only feel seen and heard, because they are human. They're not a robot. They don't perform the same. They're not a trick monkey. They are human people that are really valuable to my team. So it's important that we adjust a bit to what their needs are, because they feel part of the team, and we ultimately always get better work that way. So by and large, we're Google Shop. Microsoft Teams always hurts me, and yet we have several clients that are Microsoft Teams. I mean, we can get out of our wheelhouse, but we have our lane that we like to stay in, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So having the right tools makes it much easier to get effective communication done. I agree 100%. You said Monday, you said Google. Are there any other tools or technologies that you use as a team that helps with collaboration and communication, or those are the main ones?
We have a couple clients that love Slack. And I find the air traffic control more like I need an air tower for Slack, that I need some specialized degree to land all the planes.
Yeah.
And that's not my specialty, and that's not my joy, right? Yeah. And so I tend to try and keep them in the platforms that I can go respond when I can. And everyone knows that if Rome is on fire, you can call or text me, and I actually prefer it. And if you're concerned about time of day or interruptions, just text, and then it's on my ability to respond to you when I can. And if Rome's on fire, you'll probably text me more than once, and I'll step out of the movie theater. It's not a big deal, because Rome doesn't go on fire very often.
Yeah, that's the idea, right?
You know? And so, no, I really try and not have too many. The pendulum kind of swung for a minute, where we had lots of formality and lots of different programs. And there was never a platform that we fully utilized when we got really big, robust project management systems. Adoption was hard and it was distracting. We brought in actually an employee just to manage the systems. And there is a little bit of that to the structure piece and onboarding, but we really rely on the systems that we have and try and minimize our tech stack. Because we're a media company, we've got media programs, we've got social media platforms, we have those kinds of things, depending on what part of the business that the individual works on. But as far as communication for the whole team, we really try and run pretty lean.
I like that. It sounds like you're saying, you're leaning towards a preference of flexibility and productivity over strict processes and things, because you're a smaller team, right? And you're augmenting with the specialized skills and things like that. So being able to be flexible and having good communication paramount over everything really gets you where you need to get to at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, we've got time. All right, one more question. We'll wrap this up. And I hate to end on this question, but it's a good one, and it's one that I think is really valuable. We've had this conversation about hiring and building a team, but how do you know when you don't have the right person on the team? How quick are you to make that call? I've heard it both ways, and I never know which one I'm going to get. If the answer is more so, no, I like to invest, give the right feedback, help them get to where they need to be, or what is it, fire fast, hire slow, that mentality as well. So I'm curious where you land on the spectrum and what that looks like on your team.
So again, they're my team, they're my people, they're important to me. And so fire fast is very transactional, right? You're treating that person transactionally, and they're not a debit card, right? And so that would not be our philosophy at all. And I think that happens with the vetting. We have not hired people that we kind of had that it's not the right seat, right person, right seat, right? And there are inevitably in any project barriers that come up. They can be, as independent team players, they can be independently involved with something else. So their time doesn't match. Sometimes because my expectation is super high, it is hard for me to express in words what that looks like. And so some great work has come out and it's still not to our standard is usually where I have the rub. And so some of that is counseling and educating, and then they get excited and I hate to say level up, but that's just a term that I could use. And then they bring it, and then they get to bring their best self. And actually it's really not a problem anymore. They just didn't know. They needed to be educated. I've been doing this a long time, so it's really self-evident for me. That's not a barrier for them. They just need to learn, right? It's not that they couldn't, it's just they hadn't yet. So that's a pivot point. There becomes the toughest barriers are when the communication doesn't work, when the styles kind of, I am very loud, I'm very direct, and that style to some humans is too much. And so there are some people who need to be communicated with differently. They don't process information the way I do. Those are the toughest, because it's not that person isn't valuable or not contributing to the team, or you can't really, it's more of an intangible barrier. And those are the toughest ones because they're still part of my team. But there becomes a time that the communication styles really are such a barrier that it becomes not a right person, right seat anymore. And it could be a change in their life or our life or our needs or pace. And so when problems arise with any project, a failure of a delivery, a missed headline, less than amazing creative, it usually is a lack of a communication, right? It's like, I didn't know, or I didn't understand, or I didn't have time. I hate that one, but it happens. And so I can't always fix the time because the deadline is what the deadline is. But if I can help you break through what you're not understanding. So it sometimes is saying the same thing in a different way because that person is interpreting the data different.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, it really is kind of saying in another way, and taking that not as, well, I've delivered it, this is all I got. I was like, oh, that's super, that's not enough.
Yeah. I'm sure that resonates with people as well. And that's so important, right? Being able to identify that and work toward a common resolution and getting people to level up or perform at the level you need them to, right? All comes down to making sure you're on the same page and understanding each other.
Yeah, people, independent team players, which is kind of where we kind of started, right? Is that they are bold, they want to contribute, they are proud of what they know, they are curious. And so as long as we have this premise, always with a foundation of respect, you can get great things from great
Yeah.
people.
I love that. That's a great ending point. Shelly, thank you so much for your time today. Where can people find you if they want to? You're on LinkedIn, I imagine.
I am on LinkedIn. Shelly at porticoagency.com is my direct email. I'll save the text for when we have a little better relationship. But certainly on LinkedIn or just directly on email. Happy to answer any questions. And I'm glad to know you've got social media managers on your platform. I'll be following up because I have a need for that. So thank you.
Oh, perfect. Wonderful. Well, Shelly, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, everyone who stopped by and watched live. And if you're watching the recording, thank you so much for joining. And we will see you at the next Remote Leadership Unleashed. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate your time.